Greetings and welcome back to yet another episode of the Daily Run, and today we are playing as Blue Baby. I always say this, but I feel like I have to say it again. Blue Baby is one of my favorite characters, and not just because he only has spirit hearts and I think he's maybe a bit more difficult than the average character, but also because he has a few unique properties that no other character has. So if you consider him a difficult character, which I think he was meant to be, at least in the original game, you really have to look at the differences between him and the Lost, maybe and the Keeper, which are the new difficult characters. And I really like that he doesn't suffer from the same problems they do. In the fact that some items are not rendered useless on him, so items like maybe health ups are just not effective at all when you're playing as the Keeper or maybe as the Lost, unless in maybe some very niche case scenarios. But on Blue Baby, they're still useful, you're still gonna get your spirit heart, and that's very important, maybe for when you're getting devil deals, which is usually the path you're going to take. And for that reason, the choices you make feel a bit more meaningful, just because whenever you are taking a devil deal or a health up item, there are some consequences that come with it. And because all the devil deals cost 3 spirit hearts, and if you have full health, in best case scenario, you're gonna trade away a quarter of your health to actually get just one item. So maybe in that sense you would take almost any item, but let's say for example you have 5 health and you find a multi-dimensional baby. And in that scenario, maybe you don't want to take it just because it's not a very good item and maybe you're not super comfortable with the game. So it's really, I think, that decision to then take the multi-dimensional baby is just so much more rewarding. And actually feels like you made a decision that's maybe right or wrong depending on how the run turns out, as opposed to when you're playing the Lost, which is just an automatic pickup because the item is free, or maybe when you're the Keeper, you're just not gonna take that item because it's gonna cost you one of your or 2 of your heart containers. And that means that you're just gonna die, or maybe if not now, then maybe it's in some later room. And for that reason, Blue Baby is really more impactful, and I think just overall he feels better to play because all the decisions you make actually matter more because you're so limited with your health. Also, the items that usually don't work on the Lost or the Keeper at all, so any items that maybe deal damage to you, work so much better when you're playing as Blue Baby because you can still use the Ivy Bag, or maybe you can still use the Razor, but it just costs you more to do it. Maybe you need a different set of items, maybe you just need to be a bit more careful. I think it really comes down to how comfortable you are with the game and just at which level you're kind of competing at. And for that reason, I think that's very important to kind of make that distinction between the hard characters, which are hard because they involve hard decisions, and the hard characters which are hard because they are made to be maybe very weak or maybe not have enough damage or whatever, which I think the characters like the Lost and the Keeper are, because they rely on gimping your ability to shoot or maybe have health in exchange for being strong, or I mean weak, as opposed to the Blue Baby, which is a character that is made to be weak, and not just because of and not by taking away components of the game. It's actually made weak by the fact that your health is limited, that you can't use some of the aspects of the game, so red health, but at the same time you're not being gimped for it. You never feel like you're not rewarded when you enter a devil deal or maybe an item room, because there's always something you can do about it. And even red health can be useful when you're playing as Blue Baby, because maybe you can find items that take red health and turn it into spirit hearts, or maybe you have the Dark Bomb, which takes the red health and of course gives you Spider, maybe more spirit hearts. So it's not like that component is entirely useless on him, but on items, I mean on the characters like the Keeper and the Lost, those aspects of the game are just locked down. It feels like third of the game is just not meant to be played that way, but I guess that's why they are the unique and challenging characters that we all know, and maybe not love as much, but we all know. So the fact here is, I went through the floor, I found the second secret room, so that was great. I found the AWAS rune inside, which is obviously something we need because we want to get further than Mom's Heart, and we're able to do it if we use the AWAS rune on that last Womb 2 or Utero 2 floor. And we also found a Pertra rune, which is a rune I just took with me in the devil deal, and there were 2, I think, mediocre items, not something too special, and I decided to re-roll them, and thankfully one of those re-rolled into Brimstone, so at this point we actually have quite enough damage. I'm not really sure where we got this damage from, but we feel very strong. Sometimes when you pick up Brimstone you have no damage ups, you feel like you just can't do anything, but of course as soon as you get 1 damage up, then your Brimstone starts feeling super strong. And I think the fact that Blue Baby just has a natural higher damage multiplier, it helps in the fact that your brimstone feels maybe a bit stronger when you're just going through the rooms, because you are shooting like 13 ticks of damage every brimstone shot. So for that reason, every 1 damage up is actually like a 13 damage up if you can sustain that fire. So for that reason, there's a decision to be made here. Do we maybe just stick with what we got and not maybe take any other items? But obviously that's not something you really want to rely on. I mean, I'm the kind of person who makes those decisions, and I feel like they're the right decisions to make. I'm just blabbering on. But what I'm trying to say is that at a certain point you have to decide that your run is strong enough and that you don't need any additional items, unless those items of course just give you more points than you lose. So maybe any health ups or maybe any bomb items which give you bombs. So we wouldn't take items like multidimensional baby or maybe some familiars just because they're not strong enough. So I think at this point we were actually strong enough to beat the whole game on our own, and the fact we have the unicorn horn combined with the cube of meat actually allows us to feel pretty comfortable going into most boss fights and even boss rushes and things like that. So for that reason I feel that we are actually in a very good position to just kind of finish this run, in the sense that we just don't pick any more items up. I still do it because I think there's more to the game than just maybe getting a good score, but maybe I'm just saying if you were playing optimally at this point, I would feel strong enough to just say that's it, I don't need any more items to win the game. But I don't think even I'm at that point yet where I can make that decision very confidently, but I'm sure some people are. We do go through some motions here in trying to use the IV bag, but that IV bag is soon gonna be replaced with the blank card we're gonna get on this floor. And there's one thing that actually surprised me. So when I entered the last floor, I was like, oh, I thought this was the mom's fight. But then I realized that we're fighting war, so that means it's not the last floor before mom. So I was like, oh shit, this is not actually the last floor before mom, so what the hell am I gonna do? I entered the last floor before mom fight. I was at 18th minute and a half, which means I only had a minute and a half to actually complete the whole floor and actually beat mom as well. So I thought I was actually gonna be able to pull it off, but I just missed it by the nick of time, just by 5 seconds. I was just a bit too late. And I actually didn't manage to get the boss rush, which is obviously a huge bummer. If I knew that I didn't manage to do it, I would have just explored the floor, maybe got a few more points that way. Maybe even found some items that would help me, maybe even found a Yara rune, and that would obviously be a very good haul for us. But then again, because we did have Brimstone, I think I could have played much faster and actually completed everything I had to complete. So visited all the rooms and also finished the mom fight and the boss rush between 20. But because I do tend to play a bit slower, I guess, then in that case, things like this happen. So we are still holding on the Awa's rune. Of course, we are planning to use it on the Mom's Heart, on the Womb 2 fight, because then we can get to Shoal and get a few more points for exploring, and of course just visiting another floor gives us a bunch more points. And we're still holding on our blank card. I'm just using the blank card with Awas, hoping to get crawl spaces. Obviously the main goal here is to find a Yara rune so we can start duplicating those consumables and really start getting a lot of points. But even rooms, even cards like Death would be useful just to make things a bit easier when you were beating rooms, or maybe the Sun cards, or maybe even the Hierophant cards, because then we can spam a lot of Spirit Hearts and maybe play Blood Banks or whatever. So basic, blank cards, it has a lot of usabilities, and I think anyone is surprised by that. It's a very solid item, especially in dailies, especially when you can get some cards to go with it. I really feel like the blank card should be changed in some way to maybe not be as monotonous as it is. I think it's a very strong item, obviously, but I think it's very monotonous to use it, because all it does is just it's fun for the first time or maybe the first 2 times you use it, but then it just becomes like this min-maxi badness that I think the D6 was in the original game. When it had a 3-room charge, you always had to go back and forth. Well, in this scenario, I think when it's a 6-room charge, it actually feels much more rewarding to use, just because those rerolls, I feel, do matter more when you actually do them. But the blank card is just a very automatic item. You just try to get a good card. Maybe if you find a Yara rune, that's where you're gonna stop, and you just kind of repeat the same process over and over again. I like the effect of it. I think it's very novel, not maybe unique, but it's a very novel effect, and when you are able to pull it off, it feels very good and rewarding. But I feel like there are some changes to be made there, just to make the blank card, at least in dailies, just a bit more maybe user-friendly, so we don't really have to rely on it so much to break the game. I really feel like these methods of breaking the game are maybe uninspired, I guess. I really like the unique ways of doing it, but still, you know, I like that there's an easy way to break the game as well, I guess, for newer players. And, you know, sometimes you just get lucky and that's it. So with that said, we did finish the run in the 33,000 points. We actually were playing sort of well, but we did have Holy Mantle, so we didn't really have much to worry about. We do rank 70th, which is not a bad score at all. I actually thought we were going to be much lower because we did miss Boss Rush, but of course if we did get Boss Rush, I think our score would jump super high. With that said, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you next time.